Welcome to Dreamy Mystery. Here's the thing that absolutely blows my mind about our understanding of the planet we call home. We know more about the surface of Mars, a world millions of miles away, than we do about what lies just a few dozen miles beneath our own feet. Think about that for a second. We've sent rovers trundling across Martian plains, analysed its dust, peered into its ancient riverbeds, and mapped its canyons with astonishing precision. Yet, the very ground we stand on, the solid, seemingly impenetrable bedrock that supports our cities and civilizations, remains a profound, almost unfathomable enigma. We are, quite literally, living on a colossal sphere of mystery, a vast, churning, superheated world about which our direct knowledge is shockingly limited. Our deepest praise have barely scratched the surface, a mere pinprick in a sphere nearly 8,000 miles in diameter. It's like trying to understand the entire human body by examining a single skin cell. We rely on indirect clues, seismic whispers, and complex mathematical models to paint a picture of Earth's interior, a picture that, while incredibly sophisticated, is still fundamentally a best guess. So the question nobody truly asks, or perhaps dares to ask, is this. If our direct observation is so minimal, if the vast bulk of our planet remains utterly unexplored and unobserved, how can we be so certain that what lies beneath conforms entirely to our current scientific theories? What if in that unfathomable depth something else entirely exists? Something that challenges everything we think we know about our world? This isn't just about geology, it's about the very nature of existence, the boundaries of our knowledge, and the tantalizing possibility of secrets hidden in plain sight. If you're enjoying this journey into the unknown, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. And I'm always curious. Drop a comment letting me know what city and time zone you're watching from. There's something special about knowing this story is reaching people all over the world. Let's start with the obvious question nobody asks when they look at a cutaway diagram of Earth. How do we know all that? We see neat layers: crust, mantle, outer core, inner core, each with its distinct colour and label. It's presented with such certainty, such scientific authority, that we rarely pause to consider the incredible audacity of the claim, given our profound inability to actually see or touch these layers. We're talking about a realm of unimaginable pressure, searing heat, and materials unlike anything we encounter on the surface. How far have we truly ventured into this subterranean frontier? Not very far at all. The deepest hole ever drilled by humanity is the Kola Super Deep Borehole, located on the Kola Peninsula in Russia. It was an ambitious Soviet project begun in 1970 that aimed to penetrate the Earth's crust as deeply as possible. For over 2 decades, engineers and scientists painstakingly drilled, pushing the limits of technology and human endurance. By 1992, they'd reached a depth of 1262 meters, or just over 7.6 miles. To put that in perspective, the Earth's radius is approximately 339 miles. Our deepest penetration is less than 1/500th of the way to the center. It's like trying to understand the entire universe by observing a single grain of sand. And even at that relatively shallow depth, they encountered conditions far more extreme than anticipated. Temperatures soaring to 36 degrees Fahrenheit, 180 degrees Celsius, and rock that was far less dense and more fractured than models predicted. The drill bit, a marvel of engineering, was constantly battling unimaginable forces, twisting and breaking in the unforgiving environment. The project was ultimately abandoned, not because they hit anything extraordinary, but because the heat and pressure became insurmountable for the technology of the time. This is where it gets genuinely interesting. Everything we know beyond that 7.6 mile mark is inferred, a brilliant feat of scientific deduction, but deduction nonetheless. The primary tool for this RAND inference is seismology, the study of seismic waves generated by earthquakes. When an earthquake occurs, it sends out various types of waves that travel through the earth. These waves behave differently depending on the material they pass through. Some waves can travel through liquids, others cannot. Some speed up, others slow down, and they all refract or reflect when they encounter changes in density or composition. By meticulously analysing how these waves travel from an earthquake's epicenter to seismic stations across the globe, scientists have constructed a model of Earth's interior. It's an ingenious method, akin to using echoes in a dark room to map its contents, but it's still an indirect observation. So when we talk about the Earth having a solid inner core, a liquid outer core, a viscous mantle, and a thin crust, we are speaking of a theoretical framework, a highly robust and well-supported one, but a framework nonetheless. The inner core, for instance, is thought to be a solid sphere of iron and nickel, roughly the size of the Moon, with temperatures reaching 900 degrees Fahrenheit, 400 degrees Celsius, hotter than the surface of the Sun. Surrounding it is the outer core, a molten sea of the same metals, whose convective currents generate Earth's magnetic field. Above that, the mantle, a vast layer of superheated, semi-solid rock that flows like extremely thick syrup over geological timescales, driving plate tectonics. And finally the crust, the thin, brittle skin we inhabit, varying in thickness from about 3 miles under the oceans to 40 miles under mountain ranges. But let's consider the nature of this knowledge. It's built on a series of assumptions, extrapolations, and interpretations of data. What if, just for a moment, those seismic waves, incredibly revealing as they are, aren't telling us the whole story? What if the material properties deep within the Earth are so alien, so utterly outside our terrestrial experience, that our models, based on known physics and chemistry, simply can't account for them? We assume a continuity of known elements and states of matter, but the conditions at these depths are so extreme that matter itself might behave in ways we can barely conceive. The pressure at the inner core is estimated to be 3.6 million times that of the surface, a force so immense it could crush a battleship to the size of a thimble. What happens to atoms, to molecules, under such relentless, unimaginable compression? We don't truly know. This profound ignorance, this vast, unexplored frontier beneath our feet, has of course fueled human imagination for millennia. From ancient myths of underworlds and subterranean realms to fantastical tales of hollow earths, the idea that something more, something unknown, exists below has been a persistent thread in human culture. The ancient Greeks spoke of Hades, a shadowy realm beneath the surface where the souls of the dead resided. Nordic mythology told of Niflheim and Muspelheim, primordial realms of mist and fire, deep within the cosmic tree Yggdrasil, whose roots burrowed into the very foundations of existence. Later, esoteric traditions whispered of Agartha, a vast network of cities and tunnels inhabited by an advanced, secret civilization hidden deep within the earth. These weren't necessarily scientific theories, but they reflected a primal human intuition that the seemingly solid ground beneath us might be anything but simple. The sheer scale of the unknown is what truly captivates. We have explored less than 0.2% of the Earth's volume. That leaves 99% utterly beyond our direct reach, a colossal, churning, superheated expanse where anything is theoretically possible. Our scientific models are robust, yes, but they are also, by necessity, incomplete. They describe the Earth as a relatively uniform, albeit layered, structure. But what if there are anomalies? voids, unimaginable structures, or even ecosystems sustained by geothermal energy entirely disconnected from the surface world. We have no seismic data detailed enough to definitively rule out such possibilities, particularly in specific localized regions. The very limitations of our scientific tools create the perfect canvas for such speculation. The deeper we go, the less certain we become, and the more the familiar world gives way to the truly alien. And this is where our journey truly begins. We've established the colossal ignorance at the heart of our understanding of Earth. We've glimpsed the tantalizing possibilities that our scientific limitations inadvertently open up. But what if those ancient myths, those esoteric whispers, weren't just flights of fancy? What if there's a grain of truth, a forgotten memory, a coded message in those stories of hidden realms and subterranean civilizations? In the next chapter, we'll delve into the history of the Hollow Earth theory, exploring how early scientists and curious minds grappled with the idea of a world within a world, and what led them to seriously consider such a radical notion. Last time we talked about the astonishing fact that we know more about distant planets than we do about the very ground beneath our feet. We delved into the limitations of our deepest probes, like the Kola super deep borehole, and the profound mystery that lies beyond our direct reach. We touched on ancient myths, on the persistent human intuition that something vast and hidden might exist within the Earth, suggesting there could be a tiny, tantalizing grain of truth to these age-old stories. But what if that grain of truth isn't just a metaphor? What if it's an idea that has echoed through the centuries, evolving from myth into something more akin to a scientific hypothesis, however outlandish? Today, we're going to explore one of the most enduring, most captivating, and perhaps most ridiculed of these ideas, the Hollow Earth theory. It sounds like something straight out of a pulp fiction novel, doesn't it? A hollow Earth, perhaps with its own internal sun, maybe even inhabited. But this isn't just a modern flight of fancy. The concept of a hollow Earth, or at least a multi-layered Earth with internal spaces, has surprisingly deep roots, even among some of the most brilliant scientific minds in history. Think about that for a second. We're talking about figures who laid the groundwork for modern astronomy and physics. They weren't just fantasists. They were trying to make sense of the world with the tools and knowledge available to them, and sometimes their theories led them to truly mind-bending conclusions about our planet's interior. One of the earliest and most famous proponents was Edmund Halley. Yes, that Halley, the astronomer who calculated the orbit of Halley's comet. In 1692, he proposed a radical idea. The Earth might be composed of 4 concentric spheres, one inside the other, like a set of Russian nesting dolls. Each sphere, he suggested, could be inhabited, and they all rotated independently. Why would a man of science propose something so extraordinary? Halley was trying to explain some perplexing phenomena of his time. He observed anomalies in the Earth's magnetic field, noticing that it seemed to shift over time. His solution? Independent rotating spheres within the Earth, each with its own magnetic properties, could account for these shifts. He even suggested that the aurora borealis, the northern lights, might be caused by the escape of luminous gas from the innermost regions through openings at the poles. It's wild, isn't it? But it was a serious attempt to explain observed data. Fast forward to the 18th century, and another scientific titan. Leonhard Euler, the Swiss mathematician and physicist, took the idea even further. Euler, one of the most prolific mathematicians in history, speculated that the Earth was largely hollow, containing a central sun that provided light and warmth to an advanced civilization living within. No concentric spheres for him, just a vast, single interior world. Again, a genius, grappling with the unknown. But perhaps the most passionate and vocal advocate for the hollow earth theory was an American named John Cleves Symmes Jr. In the early 19th century, Symmes wasn't a renowned scientist, but he was a visionary, or perhaps some would say an eccentric. He proposed that the Earth consisted of 4 concentric hollow spheres, each open at the poles by about 4,000 miles in diameter. He called these openings Symmes holes. Symmes was so convinced of his theory that he spent years campaigning, publishing pamphlets, and even petitioning the US Congress to fund an expedition to the North Pole to find one of these openings. His motto was, "I pledge my head that the Earth is hollow and habitable within." He didn't just theorize, he wanted to prove it. While he never got his expedition funded, his ideas captured the public imagination in a way Halley's or Euler's never quite did. His fervour, his absolute conviction, made the hollow earth theory a topic of widespread discussion, even ridicule. It's fascinating how these early, often scientifically motivated, if ultimately flawed theories morphed and migrated into the realm of popular culture. The hollow earth isn't just a historical curiosity. It's a concept that has deeply embedded itself in our collective imagination, largely thanks to the power of storytelling. Think about Jules Verne's classic Journey to the Centre of the Earth, published in 1864. Verne didn't just imagine a hollow earth. He crafted an entire subterranean world complete with prehistoric creatures, vast oceans, and incredible landscapes, all accessed through volcanic tubes. This wasn't a scientific treatise, it was an adventure, a thrilling exploration of the unknown, and it absolutely captivated readers, giving vivid form to the abstract idea of a hidden world beneath our feet. Later, authors like Edgar Rice Burroughs, creator of Tarzan, gave us the fantastical world of Pellucidar, a primeval land at the Earth's core, lit by a miniature sun, inhabited by dinosaurs and primitive humanoids. These stories weren't about proving a scientific theory. They were about pure, unadulterated wonder, about tapping into that deep human desire to discover something utterly new, something that defies the mundane. This is where the ancient myths about Hades, Agartha, Shambhala, and other hidden realms truly began to converge with more modern, quasi-scientific speculation. The idea of a secret, advanced civilization dwelling within the earth, perhaps guarding ancient knowledge or even guiding humanity from afar, became a recurring motif in esoteric traditions, occult beliefs, and even some fringe theories. Suddenly, the hollow earth wasn't just a geological curiosity, it was a potential sanctuary for secret masters, a utopian paradise or a hidden threat. Okay, so we've looked at the history, the early proponents, and the pop culture impact, but let's bring it back to the present, to our current scientific understanding. Because let's be clear, mainstream science overwhelmingly rejects the hollow earth theory, and for very, very good reasons. How do we know the Earth isn't hollow? It comes down to a few fundamental principles of physics and some incredibly powerful observational data. First, gravity. If the Earth were largely hollow, our planet would have significantly less mass than it does. This reduced mass would dramatically alter its gravitational pull, affecting everything from the orbits of satellites to the weight we feel on the surface. We can measure the Earth's mass with incredible precision, and those measurements are perfectly consistent with a solid, dense core, not a hollow interior. If you were standing on a hollow Earth, you'd feel much lighter, the Moon's orbit would be different, and frankly, the planet itself might not even hold together in the way it does. The sheer physics of gravity simply don't allow for a large, empty void. Second, and perhaps most decisively, seismology. Remember how we talked about using earthquake waves to see inside the Earth? This is where seismology absolutely shuts down the hollow Earth idea. Seismic waves generated by earthquakes travel through this Earth's interior at different speeds and refract, bend, when they encounter changes in density and composition. If the Earth were hollow or contained vast internal voids, these seismic waves would behave in ways that are radically different from what we actually observe. They would hit the empty space, bounce off, or simply disappear. Instead, what we see are P waves, compressional waves, and S waves, shear waves, travelling through the mantle and core, bending and reflecting in predictable patterns that clearly indicate a solid mantle and a liquid outer core surrounding a solid inner core. There are no seismic shadows, no anomalies, no missing waves that would suggest a colossal empty space. The data is incredibly robust, compiled from countless earthquakes recorded by thousands of seismographs worldwide over decades. It's like having an ultrasound of the entire planet, and that ultrasound shows a very dense, very solid interior. Finally, there's the issue of pressure and heat. We already discussed the unimaginable pressures and searing temperatures that exist just miles beneath the surface. As you go deeper, these conditions intensify to truly mind-boggling levels. At the Earth's core, pressures are millions of times greater than atmospheric pressure at the surface, and temperatures rival the surface of the Sun. Under such extreme conditions, it's physically impossible for large, stable voids to exist. Any empty space would simply collapse in on itself, crushed by the immense weight of the overlying rock. Matter itself behaves in extraordinary ways under these conditions, but forming a stable, breathable, or even just empty cavern the size of a continent is utterly beyond the realm of known physics. So the scientific consensus is clear. The Earth is not hollow. It's a dense, layered sphere with a solid inner core, a liquid outer core, and a thick, viscous mantle, all encased in a relatively thin crust. The evidence from gravity and seismology is, by all accounts, overwhelming. But here's where my curiosity, and perhaps yours, still gnaws. Here's where we circle back to the central premise of our discussion. What if our understanding, while robust, is still incomplete? We've established that our direct observation is shockingly limited. We've talked about how our models of the deep Earth are based on extrapolations of known physics under extreme conditions that we cannot replicate. What if, just what if, there are states of matter, or exotic physics, or even forms of energy operating at those unimaginable depths that we simply haven't discovered yet? Could a civilization, if it were truly ancient and unimaginably advanced, have found a way to defy these known physical laws? Could they have engineered voids or stable environments using technologies that are utterly alien to our understanding? Imagine a technology capable of manipulating gravity or stabilizing matter under extreme pressure. It sounds like science fiction, because it is. But when we talk about a secret civilization, we're already stepping into the realm of the extraordinary. If such a civilization exists, they would have to be hidden from our detection. They would need to exist in a way that doesn't trigger our seismic sensors, doesn't alter our gravitational measurements in detectable ways, and doesn't radiate heat or energy that we can pick up. They would need to be masters of concealment on a planetary scale. Perhaps the hollow isn't an empty void as Sims imagined, but a space filled with something we simply don't recognize. Or perhaps the hollow is a metaphor for an interior that is fundamentally different from our models, a place where the rules we understand simply don't apply. The beauty of science is its ability to constantly challenge and refine its own understanding. While the hollow earth theory in its historical forms has been thoroughly debunked, The spirit of questioning, of wondering what truly lies beneath our feet remains. Our ignorance of 99% of our planet's volume is a profound, almost unfathomable enigma. So while we acknowledge the overwhelming scientific evidence against a truly hollow Earth, we're left with the lingering, tantalizing question: if a secret civilization does exist inside Earth, how have they managed to evade the very laws of physics we rely upon to understand our planet? And what does that imply about the limits of our knowledge and the boundless possibilities of the unknown? Next, we'll move beyond the historical theories and dive into some of the more contemporary, albeit fringe, interpretations and alleged evidence for a hidden world, exploring how these ideas persist and continue to capture our imagination, even in the face of scientific certainty. We've laid out the overwhelming scientific consensus, haven't we? Gravity, seismology, pressure, heat, they all scream no to a vast empty void at Earth's core. And I agree, the idea of a literal hollow shell, as envisioned by Halley or Sim, is, well, pretty much debunked by our current understanding of physics. The science is clear. Earth is solid, dense and layered, not a giant empty sphere. But here's where it gets interesting, and where my curiosity really kicks in. What if we're asking the wrong question? What if the notion of a secret civilization inside Earth isn't about giant open spaces, but about something far more subtle, far more advanced, and perhaps far more disturbing to our neatly categorized scientific worldview? We tend to project our own understanding of existence onto the unknown. We assume a civilization would need breathable air, moderate temperatures, and open land, just like us. But what if that assumption is our greatest blind spot? Think about it for a second. If such a civilization exists, it would, by definition, have to be undetectable by our current means. It would have to defy, or at least operate beyond, the physical laws we currently comprehend. This isn't about a hollow Earth anymore. It's about an unseen Earth, a hidden dimension of existence right beneath our feet, perhaps occupying spaces or even states of matter we can't even conceive. This is where the speculative frontier truly opens up, where the lines between science fiction, ancient myth, and contemporary fringe theories beautifully, disturbingly blur. If we embrace the what if of a secret civilization, the next logical question isn't how they built cities in a void, but who they are and how they adapt to conditions we find utterly inhospitable. The theories here are as varied and fascinating as they are unproven. One popular thread suggests an advanced ancient civilization from Earth's own past. Imagine a society so technologically sophisticated, perhaps even spiritually enlightened, that they foresaw cataclysms on the surface, ice ages, meteor impacts, geological upheavals, and deliberately retreated inward. They might have developed technologies to manipulate matter, create stable environments, or even generate their own energy sources, allowing them to thrive in conditions we'd find impossible. Perhaps they're the architects of the mythological underworlds, the benevolent or malevolent gods of the deep, who occasionally interact with the surface world, leaving behind tantalizing clues. Then there's the idea of extraterrestrial origins. What if some of the beings we believe visit us from distant stars aren't actually from out there at all, but from in here? Perhaps they arrived on Earth millennia ago, found the surface too harsh or too populated, and decided to establish their primary bases within the planet itself. This offers a compelling explanation for their elusive nature, their ability to appear and disappear without a trace, and their apparent disinterest in overt contact with surface humanity. For them, Earth's interior could be a perfect, self-contained sanctuary, a strategic outpost for observing our developing civilization from a secure vantage point. And finally, a truly mind-bending possibility: indigenous, non-human intelligence that evolved within Earth. We're so surface-centric, aren't we? We assume life needs sunlight, oxygen, and liquid water on the surface. But extremophiles on Earth already show us that life can thrive in unimaginably harsh conditions: volcanic vents, deep ocean trenches within solid rock. What if, over eons, an intelligent species evolved in the geothermal energy fields, in the superheated water, or even within the molten rock itself, developing senses and forms of communication utterly alien to us? They wouldn't need a hollow Earth. They'd be integrated into its very fabric, perhaps perceiving and interacting with matter in ways we can only dream of. Imagine a collective consciousness, a hive mind, or even individual entities that exist as pure energy or manipulate geological forces. That, to me, is a truly profound, almost unfathomable enigma. So if we're talking about an unseen, advanced civilization, what are the alleged breadcrumbs they might leave behind? These aren't scientific proofs, of course, but rather threads in the tapestry of speculation, often drawn from unexplained phenomena that continue to baffle conventional science. One of the most persistent and intriguing connections to the inner Earth theory comes from the world of unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, formerly known as UFOs, and their aquatic counterparts, unidentified submerged objects, USOs. For decades, we've catalogued reports of objects demonstrating impossible speeds, accelerations, and maneuvers, often appearing and disappearing in ways that defy known physics. While many immediately jump to aliens from outer space, a growing number of fringe theorists, and even some serious researchers, propose an alternative. What if these objects aren't coming from distant galaxies, but from within our own planet? Think about the USOs. We have countless reports, some from highly credible military personnel, of objects moving at incredible speeds underwater, showing no cavitation, no thermal signature, no visible propulsion. They can travel from incredible depths to the surface or even into the air in seconds. Where do they go? Many sightings describe them plunging into the deepest parts of the ocean or emerging from seemingly inaccessible underwater caverns. Could these be entry and exit points for an inner Earth civilization? Could our oceans, with their vast unexplored depths, be the visible frontier of a hidden world? A watery veil concealing advanced technology and subterranean bases? The idea that some UAPs and USOs are intraterrestrial rather than extraterrestrial, originating from hidden bases within Earth, offers a compelling if unsettling explanation for their elusiveness and their seemingly intimate knowledge of our planet. Beyond the mysterious craft, there are whispers of anomalous geological phenomena. We're talking about unexplained seismic activity that doesn't fit known fault lines or tectonic movements. Sudden, localized tremors in areas thought to be geologically stable, or strange magnetic anomalies that can't be accounted for by known mineral deposits. What about inexplicable heat sources detected deep underground, far removed from volcanic activity? These are often dismissed as measurement errors or unknown natural processes, and they very well might be. But in the context of a what-if scenario, they become tantalizing hints. Could these be the energetic signatures of advanced machinery? The subtle tremors of a vast subterranean infrastructure? The residual heat from an inner Earth power source? It's a question that challenges us to look beyond the obvious. Our fascination with what lies beneath isn't new, it's woven into our myths. But in the modern era, this curiosity is manifested in specific, often controversial alleged encounters and conspiracy theories. Perhaps the most famous, and certainly the most captivating, is the supposed diary entry of Admiral Richard E. Byrd. A decorated American naval officer and polar explorer, Byrd led multiple expeditions to Antarctica and the Arctic in the mid-20th century. While his official logs document his incredible feats of exploration, a widely circulated, though unverified diary entry attributed to him describes an astonishing journey into the Earth during a 1947 Arctic flight. The entry speaks of flying over an ice-free warm land, seeing mammoths, and encountering an advanced civilization of beings who communicated telepathically, warning humanity about its destructive path. They supposedly lived in a benevolent inner Earth realm, a kind of utopian paradise. Whether a genuine account, a clever hoax, or a metaphorical narrative, Byrd's alleged diary has become a cornerstone of modern inner Earth mythology, fueling the idea that the poles serve as hidden entrances to a secret world, and the poles aren't the only rumoured access points. Legends persist about vast cave systems in the Himalayas leading to the mythical kingdom of Shambhala, a spiritual inner Earth haven. Indigenous traditions worldwide speak of sacred caves and underground passages connecting to ancestral realms. Even deep ocean trenches, like the Mariana Trench, a place we know less about than the surface of the Moon, are sometimes speculated to contain hidden entrances or even entire ecosystems that diverge wildly from our surface-level understanding. Then there's the pervasive undercurrent of government secrecy. If such a civilization existed, or if we had even the slightest hint of its presence, would our governments tell us? History suggests otherwise. The narrative often posits that world powers are not only aware of an inner Earth civilization, but might even be in secret communication or conflict with it. This explains the alleged secrecy around UFOs, the intense interest in polar regions, and the rapid advancements in subterranean drilling and exploration technology, not just for resources, but for intelligence, for contact, or perhaps for defense. It's a compelling thought for those who view official narratives with a healthy dose of skepticism, suggesting that the unknown is often deliberately kept that way. Ultimately, these contemporary fringe theories, these alleged pieces of evidence, and these enduring legends all serve to reinforce a fundamental truth. Our understanding of our own planet is shockingly limited. We've debunked the hollow Earth, yes, but have we truly debunked the secret Earth? What if the true nature of reality and the potential for intelligent life extends far beyond the narrow band of conditions we consider normal on the surface? What if our science, for all its brilliance, is still akin to examining a single skin cell and claiming to understand the entire complex biology of a human being? The colossal sphere beneath our feet remains a profound mystery, an invitation to wonder, and a challenge to our most deeply held assumptions. And that, my friends, is a thought that absolutely blows my mind. We've established that our understanding of Earth's interior is, to put it mildly, shockingly superficial. We've dared to imagine what an unseen civilization living within this colossal mystery might entail. Perhaps ancient earthlings, extraterrestrial visitors, or even indigenous life forms evolved in conditions we can barely conceive. But are these just flights of fancy? The delightful musings of a curious mind, or are there actual whispers in the data, anomalies in our observations and stories in our history that lend a strange, unsettling credence to such profound speculation? Today, we dive into those whispers. We're going to look at the alleged evidence, the phenomena that, when viewed through a particular lens, seem to poke gaping holes in our conventional understanding of what's possible beneath our feet. Prepare yourselves, because this is where the thought experiment truly begins to challenge the bedrock of our accepted reality. Let's start with something that has captured global attention recently: unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAPs. For decades we called them UFOs, and the discussion was largely relegated to the fringe. But now, with official reports, declassified footage, and testimony from credible military personnel, the conversation has shifted. We're forced to acknowledge that something is operating in our skies with capabilities far beyond our current technological understanding. But here's where it gets truly fascinating for our inner Earth hypothesis: the unidentified submerged object, or USOs. These are the UAP's aquatic cousins, objects observed operating with similar impossible speeds and maneuvers, not just in the water, but often appearing to enter and exit it with seamless transition. Think about that for a second. We have multiple highly credible accounts, not just from individuals, but from naval sonar operators, submarine crews, and surface vessels, of objects that descend into the ocean at incredible velocities, only to disappear from our instruments, or, conversely, emerge from the depths and shoot into the sky. Where do they go? Where do they come from? Mainstream science struggles to provide a satisfactory explanation. The ocean, like the deep Earth, is another vast, largely unexplored frontier. We know more about the surface of Mars than we do about the abyssal plains and trenches that cover 2/3 of our own planet. Could these USOs be utilizing the ocean as a veil, a gateway to something even deeper? Imagine a scenario where these objects aren't just traversing our oceans, they are using them as entry and exit points for a subterranean world. Picture vast hidden caverns beneath the ocean floor, or deep-sea trenches that lead to networks of tunnels and chambers, providing access to an inner realm. The unimaginable pressures and temperatures of the deep ocean, which make human exploration so challenging, might be perfectly hospitable, even ideal, for a civilization that has evolved to thrive in such extremes, or one whose technology renders these environmental factors irrelevant. We see objects performing maneuvers that defy our understanding of inertia and propulsion. If they can move effortlessly from air to water and seemingly disappear into the Earth itself, doesn't that open up the most profound questions about their origins and operational bases? Are they merely passing through, or are they residents? The thought of advanced craft diving into the Marianas Trench, or disappearing into an underwater volcanic vent, only to re-emerge hours or days later, gives me chills. It suggests a level of access to Earth's internal geography that we can only dream of. Beyond the fleeting observations of UAPs and USOs, what about the very ground we stand on? Does the Earth itself offer any clues, any anomalies that defy conventional geological explanations and hint at something more? Consider the strange energy signatures that occasionally puzzle geophysicists. We're talking about localized thermal anomalies that don't correspond to known volcanic activity or geothermal vents, or unusual seismic readings that can't be attributed to tectonic plate movements, meteor impacts, or even deep Earth tremors. These are often dismissed as instrumentation errors or noise in the data, but what if some of them are actual signals? What if these aren't just random geological quirks, but the faint echoes of an active, advanced civilization operating beneath us? Imagine a deep Earth energy source, a power generator of unimaginable scale, subtly radiating heat or emitting unique vibrational frequencies that our sensitive instruments occasionally pick up. We, with our limited understanding of deep Earth physics, might simply categorize them as unexplained, without grasping their true origin. Then there are the vast, unexplored cavern systems that we occasionally stumble upon. While most are naturally formed, What about those that show unusual geological characteristics, or those that seem to lead to impossible depths, or display features that hint at intelligent design rather than purely natural erosion? We're talking about formations that, to the untrained eye, might look natural, but to a seasoned geologist might present baffling inconsistencies. Think of the sheer scale. We've only mapped a minuscule fraction of Earth's subterranean caves and tunnels. What if some of these are not natural at all, but vast, ancient constructions? Or perhaps they are natural formations, adapted and expanded by an advanced intelligence. The idea of doors or gateways hidden within mountain ranges, beneath glaciers or at the bottom of the deepest oceans leading to technologically advanced subterranean cities feels like the stuff of science fiction. Yet the unexplained anomalies persist, quietly challenging our assumptions. Our instruments are designed to detect what we expect to find. But what if a civilization exists that operates on principles so alien, or at energy frequencies so subtle, that our current scientific models simply don't have the framework to detect them consistently? It's like trying to catch radio waves with a fishing net. You're using the wrong tool for the job. Now, let's turn to one of the most compelling and certainly controversial pieces of evidence that has captivated the imaginations of inner Earth theorists for decades: the alleged diary of Admiral Richard E. Byrd. Admiral Byrd was a real highly decorated American naval officer and polar explorer, famous for his expeditions to both the Arctic and Antarctic in the early to mid-20th century. His verifiable achievements are legendary, but it's an alleged secret diary entry, supposedly from his 1947 Arctic expedition, that truly blows my mind and fuels the Hollow Earth narrative. This diary entry describes a journey far beyond the North Pole, where Byrd supposedly flew into a vast opening in the Earth. He reported seeing not ice and snow, but a warm green temperate land complete with mountains, rivers, and forests. He claimed to have encountered strange, woolly, mammoth-like creatures, and, most astonishingly, an advanced civilization of beings who communicated telepathically. According to the diary, these beings, who inhabited a hidden world called Agartha, or Rainbow City, were concerned about humanity's destructive use of atomic weapons. They allowed Byrd to meet their leader, who delivered a message of peace and caution for the surface world. Byrd was then escorted back out, with a warning to humanity to change its ways. Now, let's be clear, mainstream historians and scientists largely dismiss this diary as a fabrication, a hoax, or a piece of imaginative fiction. There is no verifiable proof that this specific diary entry is authentic. The official records of Byrd's expeditions do not support such a fantastical claim. Many argue it was created years later by proponents of the Hollow Earth theory to lend credibility to their ideas. But despite the debunking, the story persists. Why? Because it taps into something primal within us. It's a narrative that perfectly aligns with ancient myths of subterranean realms, with the idea of a hidden paradise, and with the longing for a more advanced, peaceful existence. And for those who are already skeptical of official narratives, the idea that such a profound discovery would be immediately classified and suppressed by governments is, unfortunately, all too plausible. Think about the implications if it were true, a seasoned, respected explorer venturing into the Earth itself, encountering a civilization whose technology and spiritual advancement far outstrip our own. It would fundamentally rewrite everything we thought we knew about our planet, our history, and our place in the cosmos. It would certainly explain the source of those mysterious UAPs, USOs, wouldn't it? A civilization with the technology to exist unseen beneath our feet, capable of interdimensional or hyper-advanced travel. The very existence of this story, regardless of its veracity, serves as a powerful testament to humanity's enduring fascination with the unknown depths of our world. It's a narrative so potent that it continues to challenge our perception of reality, forcing us to ask, what if? What if there's a grain of truth in the legend, a hidden seed of reality within the myth? So we have the unsettling observations of UAPs and USOs, the puzzling geological anomalies, and the captivating, if unverified, tale of Admiral Byrd. For every one of these anomalies, mainstream science offers plausible, conventional explanations. Misidentification of known aircraft or natural phenomena, instrumentation errors, geological processes we don't yet fully understand, or outright hoaxes and psychological biases. And often these explanations are perfectly valid. But here's my question, and I'm always curious to hear your thoughts on this. Do these conventional explanations always account for all the data points? Do they fully explain the persistent strangeness, the consistent patterns of impossible maneuvers, or the sheer volume of credible reports that defy easy categorization? Or do they sometimes feel like convenient dismissals designed to maintain a tidy, predictable scientific worldview? What if the reason we don't have definitive, undeniable proof of an inner Earth civilization isn't because one doesn't exist, but because we are simply not equipped, either technologically or perceptually, to detect it? What if their science or their mode of existence is so far beyond our own that we literally cannot comprehend their methods, their presence, or even their very nature? Imagine a civilization that has mastered not just physical reality, but perhaps even the manipulation of space-time, energy fields, or consciousness itself. Their ability to remain hidden, to operate beneath a veil of natural phenomena, could be absolute. They could be literally right beneath our feet, their cities humming with unimaginable power, their craft traversing vast subterranean networks, and we, the surface dwellers, would be none the wiser. Our instruments, designed for our limited understanding of physics, would simply register noise or unexplained anomalies. This brings us back to the core of our thought experiment, our profound ignorance. We assume we know the fundamental laws of physics that govern the entire universe, yet we can't fully explain 98% of our own planet's volume. What if the extreme conditions of the deep Earth, the unimaginable pressures, the searing heat, the unique states of matter, allow for phenomena, or even life, that operates on entirely different principles than what we observe on the surface? The enduring mystery of these anomalies, whether you choose to embrace them as evidence or dismiss them as folly, keeps the question alive. They poke holes in our certainty, they challenge our assumptions, and they remind us that the Earth, our home, remains a profound, almost unfathomable enigma. The possibility of a hidden world, a secret civilization however remote, is a testament to our enduring curiosity and the vastness of the unknown. And the question remains, are we truly alone on this planet, or are we merely sharing it with beings we are yet to perceive? We've touched on the idea that perhaps the anomalies we do detect, the unexplained thermal spikes, the impossible USOs, the seismic echoes that don't quite fit, aren't just glitches in our data. What if they are deliberate, carefully managed non-detections, or more chillingly, what if they are the only things that leak through a veil so expertly constructed that the rest of their existence remains utterly beyond our grasp? This isn't just about advanced technology. This is about a fundamental difference in perception, in understanding, in being. Think about it for a second. How do we know anything? We know through our senses, through the extensions of those senses in our instruments, and through the frameworks of understanding we build around the data they provide. But what if a civilization exists outside the very parameters of our sensory and intellectual world? Our human perception is a miracle, yes, but it's also a shockingly narrow sliver of reality. We see only a tiny fraction of the electromagnetic spectrum. We hear only a specific range of frequencies. We feel only certain types of pressure and temperature. Our entire understanding of the universe is filtered through this incredibly limited biological aperture. And our technology, as sophisticated as it seems, is ultimately an extension of these same limitations. We build instruments to detect light, sound, magnetism, gravity, and energy signatures as we understand them. But what if an inner-Earth civilization operates on principles so alien, so advanced, that they simply don't register on our instruments? Imagine a species that perceives reality in terms of quantum entanglement, or navigates through subtle shifts in space-time, or communicates through telepathic resonance that has no physical counterpart in our world. How would we detect that? Our seismographs are listening for vibrations, our magnetometers for magnetic fields, our thermal cameras for heat. We're looking for a specific kind of signal, and if they're not emitting it, or if they're actively masking it, we're effectively blind. I'm always curious about the analogy of the fish in the ocean. The fish lives its entire life within the water, perceiving its world through the properties of water: pressure, currents, dissolved chemicals, vibrations. It has no concept of the vast, dry land above the surface, nor the air that creatures there breathe, nor the stars that shine in the night sky. To the fish, the surface is an impenetrable shimmering boundary. We, the surface dwellers, are the fish, and the inner Earth civilization. Perhaps they are the land creatures, or even something more profound, existing in a realm utterly foreign to our aquatic understanding. They could be using forms of energy manipulation that we haven't even theorized yet. Imagine a civilization capable of generating localized gravity fields or bending light around their cities, or even shifting their entire settlements slightly out of phase with our observable reality. We talk about stealth technology for aircraft. This would be stealth on a cosmic scale, a deliberate non-existence to any of our current detection methods. It's not just hiding, it's existing in a way that our science isn't equipped to register. This brings us to a crucial, perhaps the most profound question. If such a civilization exists, why the profound absolute silence? Why the meticulous millennia-long secrecy? It's a question that echoes across all debates about hidden life, whether extraterrestrial or subterranean. There are several compelling, if speculative, reasons why an advanced inner-Earth civilization might choose to remain hidden from us surface dwellers. 1. Self-preservation and protection of resources. Their world, their environment, and their unique way of life could be incredibly fragile or possess resources that, if discovered by us, would be immediately coveted and exploited. We, as a species, have a less than stellar track record when it comes to respecting other cultures or preserving natural environments once we discover something valuable. Imagine the chaos, the greed, the aggressive expansion that would ensue if humanity discovered a hidden paradise or a source of unimaginable energy right beneath its feet. Their secrecy might be a matter of pure survival, a strategy to avoid the destructive tendencies of a more primitive, surface-dwelling species. 2. The Prime Directive, or Non-Interference Clause. This is a popular trope in science fiction, but it holds a certain logical weight. Perhaps they observe us, study us, and have concluded that direct contact would be detrimental to our natural development. We might not be ready. The shock of such a revelation, that an advanced civilization has been living inside our planet all along, could trigger societal collapse, religious upheaval, or an existential crisis of unprecedented scale. Maybe they've seen us cycle through wars, technological booms, and environmental blunders, and have decided that we need to figure things out on our own terms, without the overwhelming influence of a vastly superior power. They could be guardians, watching over our planetary cradle, allowing us to mature at our own pace. Our own destructive nature. Let's be brutally honest with ourselves. Our history is rife with conflict, exploitation, and a relentless drive for dominance. From a detached, objective perspective, humanity might appear rather volatile, unpredictable, and potentially dangerous. Why would an advanced, presumably peaceful and stable civilization willingly expose itself to a species that has invented nuclear weapons, poisoned its own atmosphere, and waged countless wars over territory and resources? For them, revealing themselves might be akin to opening Pandora's box, inviting conflict, pollution, or the destruction of their pristine internal world. 4. They simply don't care about us. This is a humbling, almost painful thought. What if we are simply not interesting enough to them? Perhaps our squabbles, our technological advancements, our entire civilization are as fascinating to them as an ant colony is to us, something to observe briefly perhaps, but not something to directly engage with. Their priorities, their concerns, their understanding of existence might be so far removed from ours that our entire surface world is merely a thin, noisy film on the outer shell of their true home. 5. They are us, evolved. Consider the possibility that they were us, or at least ancestors of humanity who made a choice millennia ago. Perhaps they witnessed an impending catastrophe, a global cataclysm, or simply foresaw the destructive path humanity was taking and decided to retreat. They delved deep, adapted, evolved, and built a society that prioritized harmony, sustainability, and discretion. For them, we are a reminder of a path they chose to abandon, and their continued secrecy is a testament to their commitment to that choice. If they are so advanced, so determined to remain hidden, how could we ever hope to find them? This question loops back to our initial limitations. Every probe we send, every seismic wave we generate, every attempt we make to peer deeper into the Earth is an act of our current limited science. They would anticipate these efforts, and if truly advanced, they could effortlessly deflect, mask, or even subtly manipulate the data we receive. Imagine a civilization that can control localized gravity to create zones of silence for seismic waves, or generate energy fields that mimic natural geological formations, or even project holographic illusions into our deep Earth imaging systems. It sounds like science fiction, I know, but if we're talking about a civilization that has existed for millennia with technology far beyond our comprehension, these possibilities are not entirely outlandish. The vastness of Earth's interior also works in their favor. We've talked about how little we truly know. It's not just a matter of digging a hole, it's a matter of exploring billions of cubic miles of rock, magma, and who knows what else, under unimaginable pressures and temperatures. It's an environment so hostile to our current technology that even reaching the outer core is a theoretical impossibility for direct exploration. For a hidden civilization, this extreme environment is their home, their sanctuary, their ultimate defense. So the mystery deepens, doesn't it? The more we consider the what if, the more we realize that our ignorance isn't just a lack of information. It might be a symptom of a deliberate, sophisticated, and millennia-old strategy of non-detection. The anomalies become not just curiosities, but tantalizing breadcrumbs, perhaps even intentional blips in a larger, carefully orchestrated silence. Could it be that the greatest discovery humanity could ever make isn't out there in the distant cosmos, but right here, beneath our very feet, waiting for us to be ready, or perhaps waiting for us to evolve enough to even perceive their existence? The profound, almost unfathomable enigma of Earth's interior continues to challenge our fundamental assumptions about reality, about life, and about our place in the grand scheme of things. It's a thought that absolutely blows my mind every single time. Our profound ignorance of Earth's interior, we've explored, could be more than just a lack of information. It could be the meticulously crafted outcome of a deliberate, sophisticated, and millennia-long concealment strategy by an advanced civilization operating just beneath our feet. Think about that for a second. We're not talking about simply not knowing something. We're talking about being prevented from knowing something of monumental significance. This isn't just about what they are, or where they are, but what their existence implies for us. If they exist, and if their secrecy is so ironclad, what does that mean for our understanding of human history, our scientific progress, and even our very place in the cosmos? Do they simply exist in isolation, completely detached from the surface world? Or is there a more subtle, perhaps even guiding influence at play? The idea of a prime directive, a strict policy of non-interference, is a comfortable thought, isn't it? It frames them as benevolent, or at least indifferent observers. But what if non-interference doesn't mean no influence at all? What if their influence is so subtle, so interwoven with the fabric of our world, that we mistake it for natural phenomena, or worse, for our own ingenuity? Imagine a civilization with technology so far beyond ours that they could manipulate not just matter, but energy, even perhaps the very flow of information on our planet. Their intervention wouldn't be grand, flashing displays in the sky, but something far more nuanced, almost imperceptible. Ancient cataclysms and the great resets. We have myths, thousands of them from every corner of the globe, speaking of great floods, cataclysmic fires, and ages of darkness that brought advanced civilizations to their knees. Atlantis, Lemuria, the tales of cities swallowed by the sea or buried by sand. We often attribute these to natural disasters or simply dismiss them as fanciful legends. But what if some of these weren't just natural? What if at critical junctures when surface humanity veered too far into self-destruction, when our technological advancements threatened the very stability of the planet they share, the inner civilization allowed, or even subtly initiated, a reset? This isn't about active destruction necessarily. It could be a withdrawal of a protective influence, a slight nudge to geological forces, or perhaps a temporary disruption of the magnetic field that leads to widespread societal collapse. Think of it as a cosmic gardener pruning an overgrown bush, not to destroy it, but to ensure its long-term health. It's a chilling thought, that our history might be punctuated by these corrections designed to keep surface humanity from destroying itself, and in turn, their hidden sanctuary. Unexplained leaps in knowledge. Then there are the inexplicable bursts of knowledge throughout human history, the sudden emergence of advanced astronomical understanding among ancient cultures, complex engineering feats that defy our understanding of primitive tools, or philosophical insights that seem far ahead of their time. We scratch our heads, attribute it to lost knowledge or genius inventors. But what if some of these were gifts? Not overt technological handouts, but perhaps subtle energetic transmissions, dreams, or even just the planting of an idea in a receptive mind. guiding humanity towards solutions that would prevent future catastrophes or accelerate beneficial progress. Consider the precision of the Great Pyramid of Giza, aligned with celestial north, its construction method still debated, or the Antikythera mechanism, an ancient Greek analog computer of astonishing complexity. Were these purely human endeavours, or were there subtle, almost telepathic nudges from an unseen intelligence, pointing us towards discoveries that would benefit the wider planetary ecosystem? It blows my mind to think that what we celebrate as our greatest achievements might in part be echoes of a deeper hidden influence. Mysterious disappearances. And what about the people who simply vanish without a trace? Not just isolated incidents, but patterns, entire settlements, ships, planes, individuals in remote wildernesses. We have logical explanations for many, but some remain profoundly unsettling. The Roanoke Colony, Flight 19, the Mary Celeste. These are just the famous ones. What if some of these disappearances are not tragedies, but extractions? Perhaps individuals deemed too great a threat or too valuable for study, or even offered a choice to join the hidden world. It's a dark thought, I know, but if they are real and capable of such advanced concealment, then the boundary between our world and theirs might be permeable in ways we can't even imagine. Moving into our modern era, the influence, if it exists, would likely be even more refined, more focused on maintaining planetary stability in the face of our increasingly destructive tendencies. Environmental guardianship. We are, let's be honest, not the best caretakers of our planet. Our industrial output, our pollution, our relentless consumption, it all takes a toll. If an advanced civilization lives within the Earth, they would be acutely aware of every tremor, every chemical alteration, every shift in the planet's delicate balance. What if they are subtly mitigating some of our worst impacts? Are they stabilizing fault lines that would otherwise unleash catastrophic earthquakes? Are they neutralizing pollutants in the deep oceans or subterranean water systems? Are they even, in extreme cases, influencing weather patterns to prevent larger, more devastating climatic events? This isn't about magic, it's about technology so advanced it appears magical. Imagine manipulating atmospheric pressure fronts, influencing ocean currents, or even subtly altering the Earth's magnetic field to deflect solar radiation or mitigate the effects of global warming. It would be an active, yet entirely hidden form of planetary stewardship, a testament to their long-term commitment to the health of the Earth, which is, after all, their home too. Energy anomalies and unseen power grids. We detect strange energy signatures all the time, magnetic anomalies that defy geological explanation, sudden surges in geothermal activity in unexpected places, even unexplained power outages or fluctuations in our own grids. Could some of these be residual effects of their vast energy infrastructure? If they are harnessing the immense power of the Earth's core or tapping into unknown energy fields, it's conceivable that some of that energy occasionally bleeds into our detectable spectrum. We might be living atop a massive, advanced energy grid, completely oblivious to its existence, occasionally catching glimpses of its immense power. Collective consciousness and the urge to explore. This is where it gets truly speculative, almost philosophical. What if their influence extends beyond the physical into the very realm of human thought? Could they subtly inspire a collective sense of curiosity, nudging us towards scientific breakthroughs that ultimately benefit the planet or fostering movements for peace and environmentalism? Perhaps the very urge to explore the unknown, to look deeper into the Earth and the cosmos, is itself a subtle prompt from an unseen intelligence, preparing us, slowly, for a future encounter. Think about the sudden shifts in human consciousness, the rapid evolution of ethical thought, or the seemingly spontaneous emergence of profound philosophical ideas that resonate across cultures. Could these be subtle ripples from a deeper source, guiding humanity's collective mind towards greater harmony and understanding? It's an almost unfathomable thought that our very inner landscape might be gently shaped by an intelligence that has existed beneath us for eons. This level of secrecy, this profound influence, comes at a cost, both for them and for us. For them, it means constant vigilance, an eternal commitment to remaining hidden, perhaps foregoing direct contact even in times of global crisis. It means living in isolation, while the surface world struggles with problems they might easily solve, bound by their own self-imposed directives. For us, the cost is even more profound. Our ignorance isn't just a blank space on a map. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of our own reality. If our history has been subtly steered, our knowledge selectively influenced, and our planet actively maintained by an unseen hand, then our entire narrative of human progress and self-determination needs re-evaluation. We would be living in a gilded cage, protected and guided, yet utterly unaware of the true extent of our planetary family. The why of their secrecy then becomes even more complex. Is it self-preservation, ensuring their safety from our destructive tendencies? Is it a prime directive of non-interference, allowing us to evolve on our own terms, even if it means occasional nudges? Or is it something else entirely, a long-term plan we can't even begin to comprehend, a slow, deliberate guiding of surface humanity towards a future where perhaps, one day, we will be ready to join the larger planetary consciousness? What if our profound ignorance of Earth's interior isn't just a lack of information, or the result of a deliberate, sophisticated and long-standing concealment strategy, but evidence of an active, intelligent presence that has been subtly shaping our world and our destiny from the deep? The unknown beneath our feet isn't just empty space. It might be in the very heart of an active, intelligent presence, a silent partner in the grand, unfolding drama of Earth. And that truly, absolutely blows my mind. So we have dipped our toes into the tantalizing idea of an unseen hand, a hidden civilization beneath our feet, subtly nudging us along, perhaps even steering the course of human history. It's a profound, almost unsettling thought, isn't it? That our triumphs, our innovations, our very path as a species, might not be entirely our own. But if this is truly happening, if there's a silent, powerful presence orchestrating elements of our existence, the next logical question isn't just if, but how, and perhaps even more importantly, why. Let's be clear, we're talking about a civilization so advanced, their technology would likely appear as magic to us. Forget our most cutting-edge quantum computers or fusion reactors. We're talking about beings who could manipulate matter at a subatomic level, tap into energies we haven't even theorized, and perhaps even understand the very fabric of space-time or consciousness itself. Their methods of influence wouldn't be crude or overt. They would be elegant, almost imperceptible. Think about the gifts we discussed. How would such knowledge be imparted without direct contact? It wouldn't be a scroll delivered by an underground messenger. Instead, imagine a subtle energetic imprint, a resonant frequency, a telepathic seed planted in the mind of a receptive individual, an inventor, a philosopher, a visionary. Suddenly an idea sparks, a solution to an intractable problem appears, a new scientific principle is discovered. Was Archimedes' eureka entirely his own, Or was there a subtle nudge from deep within the earth, guiding his intuition to that fateful displacement? Was the sudden flowering of mathematics, astronomy, and architecture in ancient Sumeria, Egypt, or the Indus Valley simply a natural human progression? Or were these cultural explosions catalyzed by unseen forces? The historical record is replete with instances of seemingly inexplicable leaps in human understanding, moments when civilization took a sudden, dramatic turn upwards. We attribute it to genius, to serendipity, to the march of progress. But what if it was, at times, a meticulously placed domino? Consider the environmental guardianship we hypothesized. How do you mitigate the ecological damage wrought by billions of surface dwellers? It's not about sending down a cleanup crew to our oceans, it's far more sophisticated. Perhaps they possess the ability to stabilize tectonic plates, preventing catastrophic quakes or volcanic eruptions that could destabilize the entire planet. Maybe they can subtly influence ocean currents, dispersing pollutants or regulating global temperatures. Could they even, at a fundamental level, influence Earth's magnetic field, protecting us from solar radiation, or perhaps even shaping the very atmospheric conditions that allow life to thrive? We know our planet is a complex, interconnected system, a delicate balance of forces. An advanced civilization intimately tied to the planet's core would have an unparalleled understanding of these systems. They wouldn't just be reacting to our damage, they might be proactively maintaining the planetary equilibrium. And the energy grid? We talked about it as something powering their hidden cities. But what if it's more than that? What if this deep Earth energy network isn't just for their own consumption but acts as a planetary nervous system, a web of subtle energies that sustains life, balances natural processes, and perhaps even influences the collective consciousness of surface dwellers? Imagine a network that taps into geothermal, electromagnetic, or even exotic zero-point energies, not just to power their cities, but to create a planetary shield, a subtle field that influences everything from weather patterns to the very thoughts we think. This isn't science fiction. It's a speculative leap based on what we don't know about energy and consciousness. If they can manipulate reality at a fundamental level, then influencing the subtle energies that govern our thoughts and emotions might be as simple as breathing for them. This brings us to the why. What could possibly motivate such a profound, millennia-long commitment to secrecy and subtle intervention? One powerful motivation is planetary stewardship. Imagine being the original, or perhaps simply the true, guardians of Earth. You've witnessed countless cycles of life, the rise and fall of species, the slow, majestic dance of geology. Then comes humanity, a species with immense potential, but also a terrifying capacity for self-destruction and environmental devastation. From their perspective, we might be like a brilliant but reckless child playing with fire in a house they don't fully understand. Their intervention wouldn't be about control, but about ensuring the long-term health and survival of the planet, their home and ours. They might see themselves as Earth's immune system, subtly correcting imbalances before they become catastrophic. Another possibility is that we are part of a long-term observation or experiment. Perhaps humanity is a grand project, a fascinating study in evolution, consciousness, and civilization. A prime directive of non-interference might exist, but with a crucial caveat: managed non-interference. They allow us to develop naturally, but step in when we approach existential threats, either self-imposed or external, that could prematurely end the experiment. They might be guiding us towards a specific evolutionary outcome, a higher state of consciousness, or simply ensuring our survival long enough to reach a certain developmental milestone. Our history then becomes a meticulously curated narrative, with subtle nudges and course corrections from an unseen hand. Then there's the chillingly practical motivation of self-preservation. If their existence is intrinsically linked to the health of the planet, then our surface activities, particularly our destructive ones, directly threaten them. Our nuclear tests, our drilling, our pollution, our climate change, these aren't just surface problems. They could be ripples that disturb the delicate ecosystems and energy networks of the deep earth. Their interventions, then, are not altruism, but a highly sophisticated form of self-defense, ensuring that our ignorance doesn't inadvertently doom them. And finally, consider the idea that they are evolved ancestors who retreated. Perhaps they reached a level of technological and spiritual advancement where the surface world no longer served their needs. They transcended our petty conflicts, our material obsessions, and found solace and purpose in the planet's interior. From this perspective, their guidance might be a form of familial responsibility, a quiet hope that their surface descendants will eventually mature enough to join them, or at least cease to be a danger to themselves and the planet. Now, let's turn this mirror back on ourselves. What does this mean for us? If any of this is true, it fundamentally redefines our understanding of history. Every major turning point, every great discovery, every societal shift could have an asterisk next to it. Our sense of human exceptionalism, our pride in our self-made progress, would be profoundly challenged. We wouldn't be the sole architects of our destiny. We would be players in a larger, unseen game, perhaps even unwitting pawns. Think about that for a second. The very foundations of our historical narratives, our scientific understanding, our philosophical frameworks, all potentially incomplete, perhaps even deliberately skewed by a silent, powerful presence. It would force us to confront an immense, almost unbearable humility. We pride ourselves on our scientific achievements, our exploration of the cosmos, our mapping of the human genome. Yet if our own planet harbours an advanced civilization we can't detect, then our instruments, our theories, our very perception of reality are shockingly limited. We would be like ants scurrying across a vast, intricate tapestry, completely unaware of the weaver beneath. And what about our future? If they have been guiding us, what is the ultimate goal? Are we approaching a point where their subtle nudges will no longer suffice? Are our destructive tendencies reaching a threshold that will necessitate a more direct intervention? Or conversely, are we finally maturing, evolving to a point where the training wheels can be removed? And perhaps one day contact might be initiated. The thought that we might not be alone, not just in the universe, but right here beneath our feet, changes everything. It transforms our existential questions from, are we alone, to, are we truly alone on the surface, or are we simply unaware of our closest neighbours? This profound, almost unfathomable enigma isn't just about challenging scientific models, it's about challenging our very identity as a species. It forces us to ask, what if our ignorance isn't just a lack of data, but a carefully maintained illusion? What if the greatest secret isn't out among the stars, but right here, humming beneath our feet, influencing our dreams, shaping our world, and waiting patiently for us to finally look down, not up, for the answers? The silence from the deep earth isn't necessarily an absence of life. It could be the most sophisticated, most profound act of concealment imaginable. And that, my friends, absolutely blows my mind. If their silence is indeed the most sophisticated act of concealment, a deliberate choice to remain unseen, unheard and unfelt by our probing instruments, then it begs the ultimate, most profound question: what are they waiting for? What conditions, what threshold, what monumental shift in human civilization would finally prompt these hidden inhabitants of our own planet to reveal themselves? Or perhaps more unsettlingly, what state of being would allow us to finally perceive them without their active concealment? This isn't just about technological parity, though that's certainly a piece of the puzzle. It's about a deeper, more fundamental readiness. Think about it. If a civilization has mastered energy, gravity, and even the very fabric of space-time to the extent that they can render themselves utterly undetectable, then our current array of rockets, satellites, and supercomputers likely seems to them like crude tools wielded by squabbling children. So what is this readiness they might be observing, waiting for, perhaps even subtly guiding us toward? The unseen hand, guiding our evolution. Let's dive into the sheer scope of this waiting game. It could span millennia, a patient observation stretching across our recorded history, our prehistory, and perhaps even before humanity truly emerged as a dominant species. Imagine watching a nascent civilization, prone to tribalism, warfare, and environmental self-destruction, slowly, painfully evolve. What criteria would you, as an advanced, deep Earth civilization, establish before deeming them worthy of contact, or even capable of handling the truth of your existence? Perhaps readiness isn't about our ability to build faster computers or more powerful weapons. It might be about our capacity for collective wisdom. Can we learn to live sustainably on our own planet, the very planet we share with them? Can we overcome the endless cycles of conflict, greed, and exploitation that have defined so much of our existence? Are we capable of looking beyond our immediate desires to grasp the interconnectedness of all life, both on the surface and, hypothetically, within the Earth itself? This isn't just a philosophical question, it's an existential one. Our track record, let's be honest, isn't exactly stellar. We're a species that consistently struggles with the long-term consequences of our short-term actions. And if there's a civilization beneath us, with access to resources and technologies we can only dream of, observing our destructive tendencies must be concerning, to say the least. Then there's the concept of ethical maturity. Would an advanced civilization risk revealing itself to a species that might immediately seek to exploit their knowledge, their resources, or even their very existence for selfish gain? The history of humanity is rife with examples of cultures encountering others and the subsequent exploitation, subjugation, or destruction that often followed. If these deep Earth beings operate under a prime directive of non-interference, as we have speculated, it's not just about protecting us from premature knowledge, it's about protecting themselves from our potential aggression or short-sightedness. Their very survival could hinge on our ability to demonstrate a profound respect for life, for autonomy, and for the delicate balance of the planet. And what about our consciousness itself? This is where things get truly mind-bending. Is it possible that readiness isn't just about our societal or ethical progress, but a shift in our collective consciousness, a raising of our vibrational frequency, or an expansion of our sensory perception? Could their concealment technology be so advanced that it doesn't just block our instruments, but subtly influences our very perception of reality? What if their existence is hidden not just by cloaking fields, but by operating on a different energetic or dimensional plane, one that we can only access once our own consciousness evolves to a certain point? This idea that our reality might be an orchestrated illusion maintained by an advanced civilization isn't as far-fetched as it sounds when you consider the implications of quantum physics and the observer effect. What if our perception of the empty space beneath us is a carefully curated construct designed to keep us from seeing what we're not yet ready to see? The stakes of discovery, a test of humanity. If such a civilization exists and is indeed waiting, the stakes of accidental discovery or even a premature revelation are absolutely immense. What if we, in our relentless pursuit of knowledge and resources, somehow stumble upon them before we're ready? What would be the consequences? For us, it could be catastrophic. Imagine the societal collapse, the philosophical crisis, the religious upheaval that would ensue if humanity suddenly learned that our entire history, our place in the universe, and even our understanding of reality had been fundamentally incomplete, orchestrated or subtly influenced by an unseen hand beneath our feet. Our sense of self-determination, our very identity as the sole dominant intelligence on Earth, would shatter. Would we react with awe and humility, or with fear, aggression, and an insatiable desire to understand, control, or even conquer? Given our history, the latter seems a tragically plausible outcome. For them, a premature revelation could mean the end of their cherished secrecy, exposing them to a species they deem unprepared. Would they be forced to intervene more directly, perhaps even dramatically, to re-establish their hidden status? Or would they choose to reveal themselves fully, gambling on humanity's capacity for adaptation and understanding, hoping that the shock would eventually give way to a new era of cooperation and shared stewardship of the planet? The weight of such a decision, after potentially eons of patient observation, would be unfathomable. This brings us to the subtle breadcrumbs we've discussed: UAPs, USOs, inexplicable geological anomalies, even the tantalizing whispers of ancient myths and diaries like Admiral Byrd's. Are these mere coincidences, or are they deliberate, controlled leaks? Could they be subtle tests, probes sent out to gauge our reactions, our technological capabilities, our societal cohesion? When a UAP is seen diving into the ocean, or an unexplained thermal signature emanates from deep within the Earth, is it a mistake on their part, a momentary lapse in their perfect concealment, or a deliberate, calculated exposure designed to pique our curiosity, to push us just a little further down the rabbit hole? Perhaps they are looking for specific individuals, minds that are open enough, curious enough, and wise enough to piece together the clues without succumbing to panic or dogma. The ultimate paradigm shift: humility and the unknown. The idea that our reality might be an orchestrated illusion, a carefully managed environment designed to allow us to evolve under specific conditions, is profoundly humbling. It strips away our perceived mastery of the planet and the universe. We pride ourselves on our scientific advancements, our ability to map distant galaxies, to probe the smallest particles, yet we remain, in this speculative scenario, effectively children in a meticulously crafted nursery, unaware of the benevolent, or perhaps indifferent, guardians just beyond our perception. This concept forces us to reconsider everything we know. Every scientific theory, every historical narrative, every cultural belief system, all might need to be re-evaluated through the lens of this ultimate secret. It demands a level of intellectual humility that is often difficult for us to achieve. How do we reconcile our drive for absolute certainty with the possibility that the most fundamental truth about our home planet has been hidden from us all along? The silence from the deep Earth, then, isn't just an absence of sound or signal, it's a profound statement. It signifies either an absolute void, as mainstream science tells us, or, in our speculative journey, the most sophisticated act of patience, a testament to an intelligence so far beyond our own that it can afford to wait. It waits for us to grow up, to mature, to reach a state where we can perceive not just with our instruments, but with our collective consciousness, the incredible, mysterious, and perhaps astonishingly familiar reality that lies just beneath our feet. And until then, the earth holds its breath, its deepest secrets guarded by an unseen hand, patiently observing, perhaps subtly guiding, waiting for humanity to finally be ready for the truth. What that truth will demand of us, what it will reveal about our past, and what it will mean for our future, remains the most tantalizing, terrifying, and awe-inspiring mystery of all. The question is, are we brave enough to truly consider it? And if we did, would we even know what to look for? We've talked about the whispers, the breadcrumbs, the tantalizing hints of an unseen hand guiding, or, at the very least, observing humanity from deep within our own planet. We've pondered their motives for millennia of silence, self-preservation, a cosmic prime directive, a profound disinterest. But all these threads converge on one central, almost maddeningly elusive concept: readiness. They are waiting, we hypothesize, for us to be ready. But what exactly does that even mean? What does readiness look like for a species as contradictory, as brilliant and brutal, as profoundly innovative and mind-numbingly destructive as humanity? It's a question that, when you truly sit with it, feels like staring into a philosophical black hole. When we think about a species being ready for contact, our first instinct, driven by decades of science fiction, is often technological parity. Can we build ships that traverse the stars? Do we understand advanced physics, quantum entanglement, perhaps even space-time manipulation? Do we have the energy sources to power a civilization that could stand shoulder to shoulder with one capable of living undetected inside a planet? And yes, technological advancement is undoubtedly a component. You can't engage in meaningful interspecies dialogue if one party still thinks the sun revolves around the Earth and the other is manipulating gravity fields. But I'd argue, and I think many of you would agree, that technology alone isn't enough. In fact, it might even be a detriment if not balanced by something far more profound. Think about it. We, as a species, possess the technology to decimate our planet multiple times over. We can split atoms, engineer life, and connect billions of minds across vast distances. Yet we struggle with basic empathy, global cooperation, and sustainable living. We hoard resources, wage wars, and pollute our shared home at an alarming rate. Does that sound like readiness to you? Does a child with a loaded gun, no matter how sophisticated the weapon, strike you as ready for adult responsibilities? No. Readiness, in this context, must transcend mere technological prowess. It must extend into the realms of wisdom, ethical maturity, and a profound evolution of consciousness. Wisdom and ethical maturity. This isn't about being smart, it's about being wise. It's about collective ethical maturity, the ability to govern ourselves not just for individual gain, but for the common good of the planet and all its inhabitants. It's about moving beyond tribalism, nationalism, and short-sighted self-interest to embrace a truly global, interconnected perspective. Can we solve our own problems without resorting to violence? Can we manage our resources sustainably? Can we protect biodiversity and reverse the damage we've inflicted on our environment? These aren't just feel-good questions, they are fundamental tests of our species' capacity for long-term survival and responsible stewardship. If we can't manage our own home, why would an ancient, advanced civilization trust us with deeper truths, with technologies that could potentially be misused for catastrophic ends? Their silence, then, isn't just about protection for themselves, but perhaps protection from ourselves. An evolution of consciousness. This is where it gets really speculative, and frankly, absolutely fascinating. What if readiness isn't just about what we do, but about how we perceive? What if their existence, their very being, operates on a frequency or a dimension that our current collective consciousness simply isn't attuned to? Imagine a shift in our perception, a collective awakening that allows us to see beyond the purely material, the purely logical. Could it be a latent telepathic ability that needs to be unlocked? A heightened intuition that allows us to grasp concepts currently beyond our scientific instruments? Perhaps it's an understanding of the interconnectedness of all life, a profound empathy that dissolves the illusion of separation. This isn't just spiritual mumbo-jumbo, it has scientific implications. If quantum entanglement, for instance, is more fundamental than we currently understand, and if consciousness itself plays a role in the fabric of reality, then a shift in collective consciousness could literally change our ability to perceive and interact with other forms of intelligence, especially those operating on advanced principles. What if they are always there, but we simply haven't learned how to see them yet? Blows my mind, doesn't it yours? If readiness is this complex, this multifaceted, then it stands to reason that humanity is, right now, in the midst of its ultimate proving ground. The myriad global crises we face, climate change, resource depletion, geopolitical strife, social polarization, the ethical dilemmas posed by rapidly advancing AI and genetic engineering, are not just challenges, they are arguably our test. Are these self-imposed trials observed by the Deep Earth civilization from their hidden sanctuaries? Do they watch our struggles, our capacity for both immense destruction and incredible innovation as the ultimate proving ground for our species? The unseen hand we discussed, the subtle nudges, the gifts of knowledge, the environmental guardianship, perhaps these are not interventions, but rather carefully calibrated observations and minimal course corrections designed to keep us from total collapse, while still allowing us the agency to choose our own path. It's a terrifying thought, isn't it? That our destiny, our very right to exist and thrive, might be contingent upon our ability to navigate these self-created storms. Every climate summit, every peace treaty, every scientific breakthrough, every act of kindness or cruelty, all of it could be data points in their silent assessment. Are we learning? Are we evolving? Or are we simply repeating the same destructive patterns, albeit with more sophisticated tools? The choice ultimately remains ours. They might be observers, perhaps even subtle facilitators, but they are not, it seems, our saviours. The heavy lifting of becoming ready falls squarely on our shoulders. Let's indulge our speculative side for a moment. What if we do pass the test? What if through some monumental collective effort, humanity achieves this elusive readiness? What then? What would contact look like? The scenarios are as varied as our imaginations. Would it be a gradual reveal, perhaps through carefully orchestrated leaks of information or subtle, undeniable signs of their presence? Or would it be a sudden, dramatic unveiling, a moment that fundamentally alters the course of human history in an instant? Imagine the societal shockwaves. Every institution we hold dear, science, religion, politics, economics, would be irrevocably transformed. Our understanding of physics, biology, and the very nature of reality would be shattered and rebuilt. Technologies we consider impossible would be commonplace for them. We would learn that our most advanced theories are mere approximations, our grandest discoveries just scratching the surface of true cosmic knowledge. Religion. The existence of an ancient, advanced civilization living within our planet would challenge every creation myth, every divine narrative. Would they be seen as gods, demons, or simply fellow beings? The spiritual implications would be profound, forcing a re-evaluation of humanity's place in the universe. Politics and economics. The concept of national sovereignty would become almost quaint. A global, unified approach would be essential. Resource scarcity, as we understand it, might become a relic of the past if they shared advanced energy or material technologies. The entire global power structure would crumble and be reborn. Would they share technology, wisdom, completely new understanding of reality? The possibilities are staggering. It could usher in a golden age of enlightenment, collaboration, and unprecedented progress. We might finally understand the true potential of consciousness, learn to heal our planet, and perhaps even join a larger galactic community, if one exists. But it could also be an existential crisis of epic proportions. The end of human exceptionalism, the realization that we are not alone, not even on our own planet, could be profoundly unsettling. Our fragile egos, our tendency towards fear and xenophobia could lead to chaos, even conflict. This is why readiness isn't just about their willingness to reveal themselves, but our capacity to handle the truth. Conversely, what if we fail? What if we continue on our current trajectory, accelerating towards environmental collapse, social fragmentation, and perhaps even self-annihilation? What would be the implications of continuing our destructive path? This is where the unseen hand takes on a darker, more ominous implication. If they are truly guardians, if their suddenness is born of a profound patience, what happens when that patience runs out? Would they simply let us self-destruct, observing our demise as a natural if tragic evolutionary outcome? Or would their guardianship step in more forcefully, perhaps a reset far more impactful than the ancient cataclysms we've discussed? A more direct intervention, not to save us, but to preserve the planet itself from our destructive tendencies. The idea that our very existence on the surface is contingent upon our behavior, that our lease on this planet is conditional, is a chilling one. Perhaps a failure to achieve readiness means a deeper, more permanent retreat for them, an ultimate severing of ties, leaving humanity to its own devices, whatever the outcome. Their howlance would then transform from patient observation to profound disappointment, a cosmic shrug of indifference as we squander our potential. So how do we, as individuals and as a species, prepare for something we don't even know exists? How do we work towards a readiness that is so vaguely defined, so profoundly challenging? The answer, I believe, lies not in searching for them, but in searching within ourselves. It's not about finding them, but about becoming worthy of being found. 1. Cultivate curiosity and open-mindedness. Challenge your assumptions. Question established narratives. Embrace the unknown, not with fear, but with wonder. The greatest breakthroughs often come from asking what if. 2. Embrace global cooperation and empathy. Work towards a world where collaboration trumps conflict, where empathy guides our decisions. Recognize our shared humanity and our shared responsibility for this planet. 3. Prioritize sustainability. Heal our planet. Live in harmony with nature. Develop technologies and lifestyles that are regenerative, not extractive. Show that we can be responsible custodians of our home. 4. Foster consciousness and self-awareness. Look inward. Explore the depths of your own mind. Meditate, reflect, seek wisdom. Perhaps the evolution of consciousness they await is simply a deeper understanding of ourselves and our interconnectedness. The journey towards readiness is not a sprint, it's an evolutionary marathon. It's a profound challenge that asks us to transcend our limitations, to shed our destructive habits, and to embrace the highest ideals of what it means to be intelligent life. The greatest secret, the most profound mystery may indeed lie beneath our feet, but the key to unlocking it, the key to our future, lies within us. Their silence is a sophisticated act of patience, a mirror reflecting our own potential and our own shortcomings. What will we choose to reflect back? The answer, my friends, will determine not just our destiny, but perhaps the destiny of this entire planet. So we stand at a precipice, don't we? Our global crises, as I argued, aren't just challenges we face, they are perhaps the ultimate crucible, the very test of our species. The question then becomes, what does it mean to become worthy of being found? What are the metrics, the invisible checkboxes, that an ancient, advanced civilization might be observing from the depths of our own planet, determining if we're ready for the truth of their existence? This isn't about technological parity. They are, by all accounts, millennia ahead. We're still squabbling over fossil fuels while they might be harnessing energies we can't even conceive. No, their assessment, I believe, transcends our gadgets and our rockets. It delves into the very core of our collective consciousness, our ethical maturity, our capacity for true, sustainable coexistence. Think about it from their perspective. Imagine you are a civilization that has witnessed the rise and fall of countless surface empires, survived cataclysms, perhaps even nudged humanity along at critical junctures. What would you value? What would signify a species that deserves to be brought into a broader cosmic understanding rather than remaining in its self-imposed volatile infancy? The pillars of worthiness beyond the surface. First, there's Welsh global cooperation. We live in an era of unprecedented interconnectedness, yet we remain stubbornly fragmented. Nations squabble, borders define, and ideologies clash, often violently. From an inner Earth perspective, watching us from below, our planet must look like a beautiful, fragile marble scarred by arbitrary lines and endless conflicts. Would a truly worthy species not see itself as a singular entity, a unified steward of its home, rather than a collection of warring tribes? Our ability to address existential threats, climate change, pandemics, resource scarcity, demands a level of global collaboration we've rarely achieved and certainly not sustained. When we finally start putting the well-being of the planet and all its inhabitants above nationalistic pride or corporate greed, that might be a blip on their radar. Then there's sustainable living. We are, to put it mildly, not doing a great job here. We extract, consume and discard at an astonishing rate, treating our planetary resources as infinite and our waste as someone else's problem. Our oceans are choking, our air is thickening with pollutants, and our biodiversity is plummeting. What message does this send to an ancient civilization that has, presumably, mastered living in harmony with its environment for eons? They might view our current trajectory as self-destructive, a species actively fouling its own nest. Worthiness in this context would mean a fundamental shift in our relationship with nature, not as something to be conquered or exploited, but as an intricate living system of which we are but one part. Imagine a world where renewable energy powers every city, where waste is virtually non-existent, and where every decision considers its multi-generational impact. That would be a signal, and perhaps most profoundly, empathy and ethical evolution. This to me is the true bedrock. It's about our capacity to recognize the inherent value in all life, to overcome prejudice, discrimination, and systemic injustice. It's about our treatment of the vulnerable, our pursuit of equitable societies, and our willingness to extend compassion beyond our immediate circles. Do we still tolerate suffering when we have the means to alleviate it? Do we still justify cruelty in the name of power or profit? These are the moral quandaries that define our species. An advanced civilization, having likely navigated similar challenges in their own distant past, would surely be looking for signs that we are maturing beyond our primitive instincts, that our collective conscience is evolving. When empathy becomes the guiding principle, when we truly understand that an injury to one is an injury to all, then we might be approaching a state of grace that makes us worthy of their trust. Our current trajectory, are we nearing or drifting? So where do we stand now in this RAND assessment? It's a mixed bag, isn't it? On one hand, the signals are grim. We see escalating conflicts, deepening inequalities, and a rapidly accelerating climate crisis. The rhetoric of division often drowns out calls for unity. It's easy to look at the headlines and despair, to feel like we are failing the test spectacularly. We seem to be doubling down on the very behaviours that would keep us in the dark, metaphorically and perhaps literally. But then I think about the counter-movements. I think about the global youth demanding climate action, the unprecedented scientific collaboration during global health crises, the slow but persistent march towards human rights and social justice in many parts of the world. We are seeing a rising tide of awareness, a growing recognition that our problems are interconnected and demand collective solutions. More people than ever are questioning the old paradigms, demanding transparency, and seeking alternative ways of living and governing. We're seeing innovation not just in technology, but in social structures, in community building, in new economic models that prioritize people and planet over profit. Could these nascent movements, these glimmers of collective wisdom, be the subtle indicators they are looking for? Are they observing our struggles, our debates, our protests, our innovations, much like a parent observes a child learning to walk, stumbling, falling, but always striving for that next step? Perhaps they see the immense pressure we are under as precisely what's needed to forge us into something stronger, more resilient, more worthy. The very intensity of our current challenges might be accelerating our evolution, forcing us to confront our deepest flaws and choose a different path. The unseen hand, observing and guiding. If this inner Earth civilization is indeed playing the role of an unseen hand as we've speculated, what would their current assessment be? Are they shaking their heads in disappointment, or are they seeing sparks of hope in the chaos? I can't help but wonder if their interventions, if any, are incredibly subtle, designed not to solve our problems for us, but to provide just enough impetus for us to solve them ourselves. A sudden surge in technological inspiration, a timely shift in geopolitical dynamics, a new scientific discovery that opens doors to sustainable energy. We attribute these things to human ingenuity, to chance, to the relentless march of progress. But what if some of these breakthroughs, these moments of collective clarity, are gently nudged along? Consider the rapid acceleration of environmental awareness in the last few decades. Is it purely organic, or is there a subtle influence amplifying the message, making us more receptive to the planet's cries? Or perhaps conversely, are they allowing us to face the full consequences of our actions, knowing that true change only comes from profound necessity? It's a fascinating, almost terrifying thought, that our entire species is under a cosmic microscope, our fate hanging in the balance, judged by beings who share our planet but exist beyond our understanding. They might be testing our resilience, our adaptability, our capacity for self-correction. Are we capable of learning from our mistakes? Can we pull back from the brink? Can we as a species collectively choose a future of harmony over one of discord? These are not easy questions, and our answers are still very much in flux. The nature of transformative contact, a new epoch. If we do pass the test, if we do achieve this elusive worthiness, what would this transformative contact look like? It wouldn't be a simple handshake and an exchange of pleasantries, would it? It would be a paradigm shift so profound it would rewrite everything we thought we knew about ourselves, our planet, and our place in the cosmos. Imagine a world where the energy crisis is instantly solved with technology shared from within the Earth. A world where the secrets of sustainable agriculture, advanced medicine, and even interstellar travel are suddenly within our grasp. It wouldn't just be about gifts. It would be about a profound shift in perspective. The realization that we are not alone, that an ancient, wise civilization has been here all along, could shatter our anthropocentric view of the universe. It could force us to confront our hubris, our narrow-mindedness, and inspire us to reach for a higher collective destiny. This contact could initiate a new epoch for humanity, an age of unparalleled enlightenment, cooperation, and exploration. Our focus would shift from internal squabbles to outward expansion, not as conquerors, but as learners, guided by the wisdom of our inner Earth mentors. We would likely be introduced to a vast network of civilizations, a cosmic tapestry we are currently blind to. Our understanding of physics, biology, and consciousness itself would be revolutionized. But this isn't a guaranteed outcome. The stakes are unimaginably high. The ultimate stakes, utopia or self-erasure. The alternative to becoming worthy, as hinted at previously, is dire. If we fail this ultimate test, if we continue down a path of self-destruction and environmental degradation, what then? Would they simply observe our demise, perhaps preserving the planet in our absence? Or would a more forceful intervention become necessary to prevent us from irrevocably damaging Earth, their shared home? This isn't about punishment. It's about preservation. If humanity proves itself incapable of stewardship, if our destructive tendencies threaten the delicate balance of the entire planet, the very balance that sustains their own existence, then their prime directive of non-interference might have to be re-evaluated. This could manifest as a reset, a dramatic event that forces humanity back to a simpler state, allowing the planet to heal and giving us another chance, perhaps with a more direct, albeit subtle guidance system in place. In the most extreme scenario, a complete and utter removal from the surface, leaving Earth to recover and evolve a different kind of consciousness. It's a chilling thought, but it underscores the immense responsibility we carry. Our choices today, every single one of them, are not just shaping our immediate future, they are, in this speculative framework, being weighed and measured by an ancient intelligence that holds the key to our greatest mysteries and perhaps our ultimate salvation or undoing. The profound truth, the one that absolutely blows my mind, is that the key to unlocking this mystery lies not in finding them, but in becoming the kind of species that is truly worthy of being found. It's a reflection, a mirror held up to our collective soul. What do we see when we look? And more importantly, what will they see? The answer, my friends, is still being written by each and every one of us, every single day. The future of humanity, and perhaps the unveiling of Earth's deepest secret, depends on it.